Anyway, let's have a look at Donald Duck, what he's been up to. So I've been dying to do a video about Donald Trump, but I just haven't had time. Oh my God. I mean, you know, there was a journalist the other day said that he quoted from, it was a Sky News journalist, quoted from The Walking Dead. It was a quote from The Walking Dead when he said, "It's Trump's world, we're just living in it." And that was something that, if any of you are fans of The Walking Dead, Enid said that in one of the Walking Dead episodes about the zombies. It's their world, we're just living in it. And this journalist said, yeah, it's Trump's world, we're just living in it. And it certainly is. Oh my God, well, one thing you can always say about Donald Trump, he's not boring. He's definitely not boring. I mean, it's, you know, but having said that, Hitler wasn't boring, was he? You know, so it's not always a good thing. But God, he's like, I think he's losing the plot. I honestly mean that. I don't know if he's losing the plot or am I losing the plot, thinking he's losing the plot. I mean, he hasn't stopped, has he, insulting people since he came in. I mean, we knew what he was like. He's not exactly the most tactful guy, but you know, he's really doing well at the moment. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Yvonne, Vonnie. It should renew monthly. Yeah, it should renew monthly. Yeah, but anyway, thanks for rejoining on here. Okay, so sorry, I can't get distracted now. I've got to talk about this guy. So, literally just as he got in, didn't he, we had the plane crash, or the plane and the helicopter crash over in Washington. A horrible, horrible thing, which I still really don't understand exactly what happened there. When I watched that crash, it just literally looks like that helicopter is driving straight or flying straight into that aeroplane. You know, you really cannot believe that they did not see the plane. You know, it's crazy, isn't it? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the crash again. It was a horrible event, wasn't it? Now, I'm sorry, I'm not very prepared because of this day that I've had. I should have had all this prepared. Let's have a look. So apparently what it's saying is the latest, let's go have a look at some of these. Let's have a look at some of these latest things, because I haven't really seen much of the latest news about it. So this was a crash between a passenger plane and a Black Hawk military helicopter, which they were saying that this helicopter was on like a doomsday mission practice. It was practicing for, you know, emergency evacuation of the White House. You know, it's a very strange thing, isn't it? Anyway, let's have a look. Can we see? This is the drone footage of the actual crash. Oh, it's so sad. All those people. So there's drone footage of the actual. No, there's the helicopter. Wow. It's just tragic, isn't it, really? How can, you know, you just think, how can this possibly happen in this day and age? I just don't know how it can happen. In this day and age of radar and, you know, just how could it happen? Let's see if I can find some footage of the actual crash. Right, so they're saying now that the helicopter was flying too high. Let's see.
These videos obtained exclusively by CNN show previously unseen angles
Look
of the
at that.
collision between an American Airlines flight and a US Army Black Hawk helicopter. In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river.
Absolutely unbelievable that. I don't know how that.
In a second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
Wow.
I keep having to start over.
I mean, that's it's amazing, isn't it? Just amazing. I know how they never saw it. I don't know. I just don't know. Just don't know. Anyway, let's just watch that again.
Tonight, the NTSB providing new details about their investigation into Wednesday's deadly crash over Washington, D.C.
There were 5 people in the tower at the time of the accident. At this time, we have interviewed the local controller, the ground controller, and the local assist controller.
The NTSB saying there is much more data analysis to do, but preliminary data suggest the helicopter was flying at 300 feet or more when it crashed into the plane. FAA restrictions say it should have been below 200 feet.
I can tell you at one point very close to the impact, there was a slight change in pitch, an increase in pitch. That is something that we will get you more detail on.
And late tonight, the Army identifying the third soldier on board the Black Hawk was Captain Rebecca Lobach of Durham, North Carolina. Large ships along the Potomac River prepping to lift the aircraft out of the water. As the investigation continues, new videos first aired on CNN are giving us a clearer picture of the moments an Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines regional plane collided Wednesday night. Jeff Gazzetti is an NBC News aviation analyst.
So, Jeff, walk us through what you're seeing in that video.
Well, in the first video, you can see that the helicopter, even though it's approaching the right wing, it actually, in my view, strikes the left wing. And then you can see the right wing still intact begin to roll, and you can see the airplane roll. And you also see the body of the helicopter continue through. In the second video, it shows that the helicopter is flying level while the airliner is descending slightly. After the collision, again, you see the airplane roll almost more than 360 degrees before impacting the water.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Coast Guard playing a key support role along the river, with about 200 people helping divers, securing the search perimeter, and protecting private boats from debris.
We have NTSB, Army Corps Engineer, Navy Supervisory or Salvage, all those entities. We're just trying to make sure they're protected while they're doing what they need to do, as well as protecting other responders.
Aaron, when do we expect the aircraft to be lifted out of the river?
Well, Jose, officials tell us they were expecting 2 barges as well as some other heavy equipment on site here today. They could start lifting the 2 aircraft out of the water as soon as tomorrow, which would help them recover the 25 victims who are still in the water. Jose?
Thanks for watching. Stay up.
So, yeah, they've recovered a lot of the victims, but, you know, there's still some victims in there. So, yeah, it's a very strange situation, isn't it? You know, there's talk that maybe when the helicopter was asked, did you see the plane? Have you seen the plane? There was another plane in the air, wasn't there? And like they thought it was that one, but you still can't. There was 3 people on that helicopter. How can not one of them have seen that plane right in front of them? Just seems weird. Anyway, in this video, we're more talking about Mr. Trump's reaction to everything. So he was really helpful, wasn't he? He went on he sort of then went on record before he knew anything. He jumped the gun. He was straight there before anyone knew anything about what had actually happened. We still don't know what really happened. He was straight there blaming it on diversity. The problem was diversity. And he started all these rumours that one of the pilots was a transgender. And it, you know, in the end, then they had to release the girl's name, the woman's name, because people, her family hadn't wanted her name released because, you know, they didn't want that sort of attention and everything. You know, that's a right that they have. Oh, no. So Donald Trump says it was due to diversity, sparked all these rumours that it was a transgender pilot, which, you know, anyway, I'm not even going there because it's just like, he just loves to spread division and hate. Oh, yeah, I blame it on diversity. Now, when he said that, what does he mean? Did he mean that the pilot was ethnic minority? Did he mean they were transgender? Does he say because they were a woman? You know, he's laying blame. What is he saying then? That only white men of a certain age can be pilots. You know, what is he saying? So anyway, caused all that stir. And then, of course, the next thing he came out with was he was going to put all these tariffs on Canada and Mexico and China and God knows what. I don't think he's put any on the UK yet. I feel a little bit sorry for Keir Starmer because he's got to handle him, because trying to handle Trump, you know, Ed Davey from the Liberal Democrats, he's been speaking out a lot about Trump, which is great. But the thing is, he's not the Prime Minister. So Keir Starmer is in a position like any Prime Minister would be. It's a fine line, isn't it? You've got to try and keep America on your side, really. But, you know, dealing with someone like Trump is really difficult because he's so unpredictable. You know, and you're trying to sort of deal with him in a way that you're not upsetting your own supporters is difficult. So anyway, good luck with that, Keir Starmer. But, you know, anyway, so he did that. Oh, then so then he upset all the Mexicans. Apparently, though, he has backtracked on the tariffs a little bit. So this is the problem with Donald Trump. Like, he just comes out with things. That all sounds great, doesn't it, in theory? You know, yeah, buy American. Then he's got then Justin Trudeau going out and saying, buy Canadian. And, you know, it's all right saying, oh, yeah, buy British or do this or do that. But, you know, some of the things you want to buy, you can't find somewhere British. You know, you can't find them. They're not provided by British or Canadian or American. Sometimes, you know, people want free trade is important because these tariffs and everything just put everybody's prices up. You know, that's what ends up happening. You know, at the end of the day, nearly everything we buy these days comes from China anyway. So I think Rachel Reeves was right to go off to China and try and build some bridges there. You know, why are we always so America concentrated? There's other countries in the world that we can trade with who are perhaps not lunatics. You know, they're just amazing. But anyway. Exactly. They've all backfired because he just comes out and says this, that, and the other without thinking about it. He spoke up about that crash without, you know, you've got to wait till you've got all the details, haven't you? Anyway, there you go. That's not the only thing he's done, is it? So he did that. So there was what he said about diversity, about the plane crash. Then there was the tariffs that have all backfired on him. You know, he's just, I really do think maybe I think even some of his own party now, because he feels completely in control now, doesn't he? He feels like omnipotent. Him and Elon Musk, you know, Dumb and Dumber, two men with loads of money, but not much else, really. I mean, he must be clever, I suppose. Donald Trump has got to be clever in some way. There are some things, how can I explain it about Donald Trump? There is occasional times when I think, you know, I quite like somebody being honest in their opinions. But, you know, he's the president of America. He's got to think before he puts his mouth in gear, hasn't he? Anyway, so of course the latest thing is he's going to take over Gaza. Oh my God. I mean, do you know what? The reaction from the journalists in that press conference when he just suddenly, I'm going to show it in a minute, or the press conference, and he just suddenly came out with this. People's jaws literally dropped open. He's going to take over Gaza and turn it into the French Riviera. Oh my God, whether the Gazans want him to or not. He's like going to make what do they got? Gaza a Lago. He's going to make like he's going, so wouldn't it be good with a casino and a this, that, and the other? These are people in Gaza, they're Muslims. They don't gamble and they don't drink. You know, they're not supposed to anyway. That's part of their thing. So what they're going to want a casino for? Oh, and that's right. The other thing he said was, didn't he, that he's going to displace these people from Gaza and send them to countries with a humanitarian heart. Well, that's not America, is it? Because America's closing all its borders. So where's he going to send them to? Rwanda? You know, where's he going to send all these people to? Could you imagine being told that you had to move away from your home, whether it's shit home or not? At the end of the day, Gaza is a shithole. It really is a horror. It wasn't nice before it was bombed to bits, but now it's been bombed to bits, and it is not a nice place, but it's still those people's homeland. You know, it's like, you know, if after the war, the Second World War, London was bombed, wasn't it? Lots of cities were bombed. If people said, right, that's it now, you've got to go and move to another country while we, you know, build some casinos on where your house was before. Unbelievable. Anyway, in that press conference, look at Netanyahu's face. Netanyahu is the most horrible man. He is horrible man. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not agreeing with Hamas. They're horrible as well. I just feel sorry for these Gazans who are like stuck between Netanyahu or the Hamas. Both horrible. But his face, oh my God, he was loving it, wasn't it? He was loving it. Right, he's come out of he's coming out of all the human rights organizations as well. So let's have a look at the press conference anyway. Crazy. Honestly, you just think, when you think you've heard it all with Donald Trump, he never fails to disappoint. Now, this journalist, when he announced it, her face, it was incredible. Let's just see what she's got to say. Look at Netanyahu's face there. Look at his face. He's loving it. He's loving it.
What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating.
So he said everybody I've spoke to loves the idea of the United States taking it. But look at Netanyahu's face. what he means is Netanyahu. He loves that idea. Nobody else in the world loves the idea. People are, he's having to backtrack on that now. You can't just say you're going to take over a piece of land and own it. You can't, where does he get off thinking he can say that? And seeing this horrible, evil little gnome-like man smirking is just, he's just playing right into Netanyahu's hands.
Creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be. And it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that. Okay. Let's go. Caitlin, go.
Yeah, that's worked before, hasn't it? With America bringing stability and peace in the Middle East. That worked, didn't it? In Afghanistan and other places. Yeah, that'll work. I mean, it's, literally, if it wasn't so sad because it actually involves people's lives, people who've just been bombed to bits, over these last couple of years as well. And to be honest, Hamas aren't brilliant for them either. If it wasn't so tragic, it would be hilarious. It's like some joke. It's like literally you're in this sort of but it's, makes you wonder, was it that what it was like with Hitler when Hitler started being the way he was, with people just laughing at him and not taking him seriously? And here, the only person who's enjoying this is Netanyahu. I don't care what his name is. I can't bear him. He's like a little gremlin, isn't he? A horrible man. And he's the only one who's enjoying it. Nobody else in the world is enjoying it.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, President Trump.
Caitlin,
follow
go
up
ahead.
on what you were saying there.
Say it. Go ahead, please.
Just to follow up on what you were saying about the Gazans leaving Gaza, going to other countries. One, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
I envision a world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also.
So yeah, we'll all be going to get married instead of going to Las Vegas to get married. We'll be going to Gaza. Instead of going to Las Vegas. Let's have a Las Vegas wedding. No, we'll have No, I think we should go to Gaza. And all there'll be like people like Elton John and famous singers like Adele and what have you doing their stints at Gaza instead of at Las Vegas. Oh my God. It's just not right in the head, is it? Come on. Have you seen Gaza? I mean, right, so he's totally, his own people are not going to like this because he's supposed to be make America great again. Where's all this money coming from to redevelop Gaza to a sort of Gaza Largo type place? Where's all the money coming from? The American people have voted in Donald Trump because they want him to make America great again. They don't want him making Gaza great again. They don't give a shit about Gaza, most of them, do they? They've made that perfectly clear. They don't want money going from American tax dollars going to Ukraine or Gaza or anywhere. So how's he going to do this? Where's he going to get the money from? I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. So if you've got any plans to get married, or you know anyone who's planning to get married, just tell them, hang on till Gaza's been developed, because that'd be great. Go to Gaza, have your wedding there.
Palestinians will live there. Many people will live there. But they've tried the other, and they've tried it for decades and decades and decades. It's not going to work. It didn't work. It will never work. And you have to learn from history. History is, just can't let it keep repeating itself. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so
Those
bad.
people go in the meantime, Mr. President.
But more importantly than that is the people that have been.
The Riviera of the Middle East. The Riviera of the Middle East. Let's just have a look at Gaza. I mean, no offense to people from Gaza, but it wasn't nice. Look, this is it. This was it before it was bombed to bits. You know what I mean? It's not really, is it? Oh, it's got a nice beach. There you go. There's the beach. Get married on the beach. But yeah, it wasn't exactly, nice before, was it? Now it's all been bombed. Let's see if I can find some more images of it now. I mean, this is it now. It's honest to God, this guy is like, my God. So where's the money coming from to put all this right? State of it. And he's going to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East, apparently.
Absolutely destroyed, that live there now can live in peace in a much better situation, because they're living in hell. And those people will now be able to live in peace. We'll make sure that it's done world class. It'll be wonderful for the people. Palestinians mostly we're talking about. And I have a feeling that despite them saying no, I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general president, but that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done. And people can live in harmony and in peace. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You've been listening to President Trump along with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump obviously going through many things in that press conference, but I think it's most important to emphasize what he said about the Gaza Strip. Pretty stunning what he said. And let me just give you a few quotes here. He said, the United States will take over the Gaza Strip. We'll own it. We'll own it. His quote. He said, I do see a long-term ownership position. He also said, everybody I know loves the idea of the United States owning that land. Even Prime Minister Netanyahu referred to it as President Trump is taking it to another level. Our team coverage begins here right now. Jeff Zeleny live outside the White House. Jeff, look, Trump says a lot of things. He doesn't necessarily always follow through on what he says. In this case, though, this is a significant thing, right? It's not as if he misspoke or he said it once. He said it again and again and again. The United States will take over the Gaza Strip. We'll own it.
Aaron, it's extraordinary to hear a sitting American president say such words. Never mind the history here that really flies in the face of so much of what he said. But let's just focus on the president himself for one moment. He also said, did not back away from the idea of sending U.S. troops to the region. Donald Trump rose in his political prominence because of his opposition to America's longest wars in the Middle East, of course, Iraq and Afghanistan.
Exactly. The only thing I was thinking that might be good about Trump being in is that he doesn't want to get involved in wars and things like that. I think, and now he's talking about occupying Gaza. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, that isn't going to go down well with his own party, isn't going to go down well with his supporters. You know, they don't want that. They won't want that. They will not want their American dollars and their troops going off back into the Middle East.
A stand. And there we heard President Trump saying, not ruling out the idea of sending a U.S. Troops to the region. So that, of course, is one issue. But the whole idea of the U.S. owning that, and he was asked there, under what authority would that happen? Answering, everyone loves the idea.
Yeah.
And of course, our own Caitlin Collins asking the question there, what happens sort of when it's rebuilt, and envisioning this as a Riviera. So we also can't help but wonder here, as we've watched the president speak all day long at several events, really for a couple hours in length, making the sort of the story here about his ideas. Meanwhile, across Washington, across the country, and indeed the world, the government is being reshaped by Elon Musk, by others. So it's unclear if this is something that certainly is a provocative that gets headlines, which we should pay attention to it.
Oh, God, Elon Musk will be out there in bloody Gaza. What will he be doing there? He'll be setting up his Twitter, his X there, and setting up TikTok. I mean, don't even get me started on Elon Musk. I mean, he's not even elected, and he's out there dabbling in politics of other countries. And I'll tell you what, I could, whoever, that's the only time that I've actually appreciated something that Nigel Farage did, because at least he did stand up to him as well. He's just America will become a joke, but of course they're not a joke because they're a massive country with big influence, but maybe they just haven't got as much influence as they have. So, of course, he's talking about invading Greenland as well and other places. He's not only got his eyes on Gaza, but this was a bolt from the blue, wasn't it?
Of course, but also shining a light on this as opposed to what is actually happening in real time. The protests we can hear outside the White House here, of course, for the Israeli prime minister, but also people protesting what he's doing to this government, Erin.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to go to Israel in just a second. Obviously, the moment of this is so crucial. Caitlin Collins was inside that room. And Caitlin, in that room, obviously the cacophony of reporters all yelling out. Nonetheless, the news stunning, and the president did not directly answer the crucial question you asked about where the Palestinians who consider the Gaza Strip home would go.
Yeah, Erin, it was a remarkable moment here in that press conference. Typically, just to give you a sense, when a world leader is here, they do a press conference that's known as a 2-and-2, where two reporters from one side asks a question and two reporters from the American press ask a question. This turned into a more freewheeling press conference, really building off of what Trump came out and said in his opening statement, that built off of what he had been saying all day long, even before the Israeli prime minister arrived here at the White House, which was talking about Palestinians leaving Gaza while it is being rebuilt. He has now suggested twice that Egypt and Jordan could take them. Both of those countries have outright rejected any notion of that happening. And I should note the King of Jordan will be visiting here next week, as the president was just referencing to me there when he was answering my question.
Yeah, so exactly where are they going to go? So he's saying they should go to Egypt and Jordan. But did he even ask them first? I mean, where's he? Perhaps he'll send them to Greenland or to Canada, when he takes Canada over. And his actual statement, he said, was, they'll get sent to places with humanitarian hearts. Unlike America, of course.
And looking at this in terms of what this looks like going forward, and how the United States would take ownership of the U.S. Gaza. He left open the idea that American forces could be involved in that. But the real crux of that question is where the Palestinians are supposed to go. There are over 1 million people living in that enclave. And while the president is talking about what it looks like now and how destroyed it has been since this war started 16 months ago, that is the question here, because obviously this is an area that is rife with tension and incredibly sensitive. And what that could look like is a massive question here of what could happen next. And so the president there unable to say where he thinks the Palestinians should go after this, where they would go while Gaza is being rebuilt. He said that they could potentially return to Gaza after that happened. That was the first time that he had suggested that all day long. And obviously is a key question. It is their homeland. It is where the Palestinians live right now. And so the question, not just of who is in charge of the Gaza Strip after it would be rebuilt, but clearly you heard the president there essentially viewing this through a real estate lens, saying it could be the Riviera of the Middle East as he was articulating what this could look like in terms of who lives there and who is in control of it. That has created a ton of questions. What does this mean for the future of the ceasefire tonight, Aaron? I think that hangs in the balance because there was already a question when the prime minister was arriving here of how that second phase would be carried out and what exactly that would look like. Now, the question is whether or not Hamas still abides by this ceasefire, as they are hearing the American president say that the U.S. is going to take over the land in which Hamas lives now. And of course, many of these Palestinians.
There you go as well. Did he even consider how that would piss Hamas off? I mean, you know, Hamas, they have got this uneasy ceasefire, at least at the moment. And then he's coming in and saying the Americans will take over Gaza. And Hamas will be thinking, what? Do you know, it's like, it's crazy. But anyway, we'll watch this video to the end. Then I've got another one that to show you that, again, it'll make you laugh. It's him being stupid again. But yeah, as I say, it's funny, but it's not funny, really.
Palestinian civilians who have been fleeing this war and already displaced from their homes. And now the U.S. president is suggesting that they could permanently relocate from Gaza. A major question is to where. We'll see what the King of Jordan has to say about that when he's here at the White House next week. That obviously is a country that has already taken in a lot of refugees. Yeah. Major questions left unanswered here, and a very explosive press conference, Aaron.
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. Of course, Caitlin was in that room. Jim Sciutto and is with me from Washington, of course, has spent so much time on the ground in Israel. Jeremy Diamond is there in Tel Aviv tonight. Jeremy, can I just ask you, you hear the president of the United States say, we're going to take over that piece of land. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. We'll own it. I see a long-term ownership position for the United States of America. Everybody I know loves the idea. Prime Minister Netanyahu, hardliner on the issue, says Trump's taking it to another level. What even would be the reaction within Israel to hear the president of the United States saying what he just said?
Well, first of all, I think, Aaron, we need to be really clear about what we just heard from the president of the United States. He is suggesting the forcible permanent displacement of about 2 million people from a place that they call home. He is talking about relocating Palestinians out of Gaza forcibly. He is talking about potentially using U.S. troops to do so, which would involve putting U.S. troops in combat to rout the Hamas militants who surely would not leave willingly, and also to remove Palestinian civilians who also will not leave their homes willingly. And so that obviously has enormous implications for what the president is suggesting here. And we should note that, as the president is talking about displacing Palestinians from Gaza, he is talking about it in the context of all that they have suffered over the last 15 months of war and decades of conflict. But rather than solving the conflict, the president is saying, let's take one party of the conflict out of this place that they call home and turn it into a real estate development that would attract, I think he said, the people of the world who would be able to live there. He did say that that would include some Palestinians, as well as also suggesting that that would also include Israelis. So this is a quite radical idea from President Trump, and certainly one that is going to be rejected out of hand by Palestinians on the ground, and I suspect by many Arab leaders in the region as well.
Well, I mean, Jim, just to state the obvious, and I know many like us who have reported from Israel on this issue, you will talk to someone who will talk about how they still have the keys to their family's home in Ashkelon, which is on obviously the Israeli side, who are Palestinians. Like, to imagine the people who live in Gaza are just going to happily, merrily go live in some kind of a permanent refugee camp like Syrians have been living in Syria is obviously absurd. But what President Trump just said there is the only reason to go back is if they have nowhere else to go. Jim, of course, that's not the reason they want to go back. They want to go back because it's home. So then what does all this actually mean? Does this all just become a whole lot of hot air or not?
Well, listen, apply that principle to any other war or conflict that involves two people fighting over a piece of land. Did George Mitchell suggest moving the Catholics out of Ireland, right? I mean, when you were speaking about South Africa, did you discuss moving all Black South Africans out of Africa to solve the issue here? It's preposterous, and it's illegal by any understanding of international law that you would forcibly move people away from their homes. I mean, the agency here, right, is the agency of the Palestinian people. Right. Are they going to be frog marched out of their country by U.S. forces as it's then rebuilt as a Riviera by presumably U.S. property developers? That seems to be what the president. It's not seems to be what the president is suggesting. It is what the president is suggesting in so many words. And I would just say that the thing is with Trump, he seems to be applying this principle, if you want to call it that, to other places as well. He wants Greenland, apply pressure to an ally, in this case, a treaty ally, Denmark, and take ownership, maybe send some money their way, and make it part of the U.S. Same with Panama. Violate a decades-old treaty to take back the Panama Canal. Where is the agency of the nations whose territory is sovereign, right? Much like the Palestinian people in Gaza. It seems to be a Trump worldview here that requires moving people off their land. The other piece I would say, it requires two other countries giving up their land, right? Jordan and Egypt to become new homes for the Palestinian people. And by the way, their leaders have said they have no interest in doing that.
And of course, there was also a question there about Samaria, part of the West Bank, that he put that on the table as well.
Yes,
I mean, Jeremy, you know, in a normal world, we might be talking about some other things said here, except for what was said about Gaza was so strident and stark and in so many senses shocking. He also said U.S. funding to UNRWA is cut off, right? U.S. is the largest donor to UNRWA, 30% last year. So, Jeremy, that just happened. You know, all of this. And watching the look on Prime Minister Netanyahu's face, I was struck, Jeremy, by the fact that even he, I don't want to use the word giddy, but in a sense, that's the right word. And then he came out and said it himself, Trump's taking it to another level. He could never have dreamed of all these things being handed to him in any other setting than this one. And as he said, Trump is the greatest friend he's ever had.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And, you know, as President Trump was preparing to come into office, there was some anticipation among Israeli officials who knew, of course, that Trump had been friendly to Israel in the past, had been a great ally to Israel, had annexed recognized Israel's annexation of the Golan Heights, for example, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, moves that President Trump referenced tonight. But there was still some uncertainty about where exactly he would stand on Gaza, where exactly he would stand on some of these thornier issues like annexation of the West Bank, whether or not he would play good cop, bad cop with Netanyahu. And today, Netanyahu is really just getting a raft of ideas that his right-wing allies in government have been promoting for years, being put on a silver platter here by President Trump. The forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza, chief among them. And then also, as you mentioned, Aaron, there was something there where he said in the next 4 weeks that he would be making some kind of announcement regarding the annexation of the West Bank. Whether or not that is a decision for the United States to support annexation of the West Bank wasn't entirely clear, but clearly it was something that he discussed with the Israeli prime minister, and something that the Israeli prime minister here in Israel has talked about, has campaigned on, and has been pushed on by his right wing.
So anyway, so there you go. So, oh my God, the more I think about it, because, you know, all the celebrations like in the UK and other countries where there are a lot of Palestinians, or, you know, and I was thinking, oh, well, it's maybe it'll ease migration and things like that because people aren't fleeing from a war now, you know, and now he just comes out and says that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Nobody's going to accept that. Anyway, so the Gazans aren't going to accept it. The Hamas aren't going to accept it. The whole world isn't going to accept it. And to be fair to Keir Starmer, he has come out and said, you know, it's not acceptable. He's always gone for the two-state solution. You know, he can't. He's still got to be diplomatic because he's still got to work with Donald Trump. So he can't just come out and say, God, what a nutter he is, even if he might be thinking that privately. So he's got to be discreet in what he says. But of course, what's his name? Bloody Nigel Farage. Oh, he thinks it's a good idea, doesn't he? Because, of course, he's right up Trump's backside. What did he say about it? I was looking at something on Twitter or X. Nigel Farage. He was all for it. And Priti Patel, I was watching her on Sky News being interviewed. Full of it. Yeah, it's a good idea. Good idea. Yeah, Priti Patel, what does she know? She's never been successful in anything she tried to do. When she said she was going to stop the boats and do this, that, and the other, she didn't do anything. The Tory government of 12, 13 years, there was more immigration under them. It kept getting, they never dealt with anything. They never dealt with anything. And it's difficult to deal with. I know that, but it's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's have a look at this. So, what did Nigel say? Let's see. So, Nigel Farage laughs off the question. Laughs off the question about Trump's plan for Gaza, saying, casinos, nightlife, very appealing to me. Yeah, because he's not Muslim. For God's sake. Reform UK leader says he loves Donald Trump's idea of displacing millions of Palestinians and turning Gaza into Riviera of the Middle East. Okay, yeah. Oh, God, I watched this interview. Well, I watched the video. I wonder if I can get the video of it up somewhere. It might be on X. Oh, there it is. Let's see is actually what he said.
Healthy, wonderful, thriving place with
Donald Trump says he wants to take over Gaza and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East. Do you agree?
I love ambition. The thought of a wealthy, wonderful, thriving place with well-paid jobs, casinos, nightlife. I mean, it sounds really appealing to me. I'm not here to answer on behalf of everything.
The other guy laughed at. He knows it's a load of it's rubbish. I hate Nigel Farage. Honest to God, I hate him with a vengeance. Because see his face there. He has done a lot towards wrecking Britain. And look at him. He's a snide. I cannot bear this man. He thinks it's funny. It's not funny, Nigel.
The Trump administration has to say. What I will say is he's got off to the most extraordinary start.
Yeah, right up his arse.
And promises made, promises kept, quite extraordinary. We do realize that after 2029, we will not quite have the same presidential powers that the president of the USA has. So without being specific on Gaza, I would just say I think he's off to the most incredible start. You've witnessed international brinkmanship on a level perhaps never seen before.
No.
And the surrender after surrender that you get, whether it's from Canada or South American countries, Panama, you name it, is amazing. He views tariffs, particularly tariffs, as a transactional tool.
This man, he's another dangerous comedian, if you like. He's sort of like, he's a dangerous man. He's a dangerous man, and he's had a big hand in wrecking Britain, he has.
Does it amazingly effectively. He can go back to the American people and say, I've got a better deal. I've put you first. The worry, of course, is that if the Chagos deal continues, and when the Americans wake up to the lies they've been told by Jonathan Powell, that we'll be included in a tariff regime that comes from the European Union. Well, I've got a feeling that whilst tariffs were used as a negotiating tool with Canada and Mexico, I've got a funny feeling that the tariffs that come from the European Union are intended to stick. And we will find ourselves caught in that.
So he's got an absolute hatred of the European Union, but he's got a European passport. He and his family have as well. But he's got this hatred of the European Union. He treated the European Union with such disrespect. Now, Britain have come out of the European Union, and they're the poorer for it. And because this man has had a lot to do with it. He's okay. He's okay. He's in Trump's pocket. You know, he's not suffering like everybody else is in Britain because of the decisions that he helped to make, the lies that he told. Oh my God, I cannot bear him.
That regime, if they think we betrayed not just our national interest, not just their national interest, but the interest of the Western world.
So, right. So, I mean, see, I'm laughing. I don't even know why I'm laughing because it's not funny. The world's been run by these bloody idiots, I think. Anyway, let's just watch. Oh, so just when you think Trump couldn't be any more insulting to anybody, he surpasses himself. Let's have a look at this. Sorry, now this clip that I'm going to show you now, it reminds me of Little Britain. Don't know if any of you ever used to watch Little Britain. Of course, a lot of it's not allowed now because it's not PC. But you could, of course, Little Britain was always taking the mickey out of the bad people. Do you know what I mean? The homophobes or the racists. It wasn't being racist or homophobic. It was taking the mickey out of those people. And one of my favourite sketches, you know, the characters of theirs, was that Marjorie Dawes, you know, at the Slimming Club. And whenever the Asian lady used to speak, she'd go, oh, you know, like she couldn't understand what she was saying, anything she said. Do you remember? It's like, oh, curry. And the lady would be saying, no, such and such. She would go, curry. Like, you know, just, and that is not poking the fun at the Asian lady. It's poking the fun at people like Donald Trump. What he's going to do now, it's poking the fun at people like him. It's not poking the fun at the Asian lady. So anyway, let's have a look at this.
The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this, good luck, live in peace. Go ahead.
My name is Ziyasin Karimi, Afghan suffered woman as a high expectation from you. Do you have any plan to change Afghanistan situation? Are you able to recognize Taliban? Because I'm an Afghan journalist, Afghan suffered woman. Any comment about Afghanistan? What's your future plan for Afghan people, especially Afghanistan?
I have a little hard time understanding you. Where are you from? Oh, actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this, good luck, live in peace. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you're supposed to, he's going to say, what, we're going for a curry? Or, you know, she said she was from Afghanistan. I could understand, but she has got an accent. I could understand perfectly what she was saying. He can't understand because he's senile or something. And then he's like, oh, go in peace. You know, it's beautiful voice, it's beautiful accent, but I can't understand a word you're saying. Let's just watch that. Netanyahu, or whatever his stupid name is, the gremlin, he's laughing. But, you know, it's funny, but it's not funny. Let's watch it again. And Donald Trump thinking he can get through it by saying, oh, it's a beautiful voice. You know, she's not Melania. She doesn't give it, she's not impressed by you. She doesn't fancy you. Melania, well, I doubt if Melania fancies him either, but really, Melania to me is starting to look really sort of trolly and nasty looking as she's getting older. She's setting into this hard face, you know, so I'm starting to see the real Melania. Anyway, but so he thinks he can charm this woman by saying, oh, it's a beautiful voice, but I can't understand what you're saying. Even Netanyahu doesn't know where to look here, but he thinks it's hilarious, of course.
And people, especially
I have a little hard time understanding you. Where are you from? Oh, actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this, Good luck. Live in peace. Go ahead, please.
How obnoxious. Honest to God, that's the president. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's anyone American watching this, there's your president, ladies and gentlemen. What a knob. Oh, dear me. I mean, yeah, it's just like, oh, God, he's the president of the United States, for God's sake. You know, he's not like, oh, God, he's not Marjorie Dawes on Little Britain, but he sounds like him. You know, he's just, yeah, he's, do you know what? I think it's probably right, what somebody just said there. He's deflecting the woman's question. Yeah, she was asking him a serious question about Afghanistan, and he's deflected it by saying, "Oh, I don't understand a word you're saying." Convenient, that, isn't it? Convenient, yeah. Oh, sorry, I don't understand you. You know, so I don't have to answer that difficult question that you just gave me. What an idiot. What an idiot he is. Oh, dear me. He's just such a fool, honestly. He's the president of the United States. Look again at Netanyahu's face. Look at him, little horrible gremlin. I wonder if I can find that. Have you heard him talking, Netanyahu? He talks like some cartoon character. Heather, I think you're right. Something happened, didn't it? I think I blame everything on COVID. I do blame everything on COVID because just like if things happen while we weren't watching. But do you know what? This is what happens. Like things sneak in, like Hitler and things like that. It's when the world's not watching carefully enough. You know, but somehow Donald Trump, I mean, he's had a resounding election victory. You know, he was voted for. It can't be disputed. Americans wanted him to be president. You know, and the rest of us have all got to suffer for that. And I wonder if they're not going to, you know, wonder what the hell have they done. He's like, do you think they were all given something and they're going to wake up to think, oh no, what did we do? You know, it feels like the world's, strange, isn't it? Let me just see if I can find Netanyahu speaking, because I thought he was just weird. Here we go. Let's see this. He's a weirdo, this man. Oh.
Idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave, they can then come back, they can relocate and come back, but you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you can't have, this is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea. And I think it should be really pursued, examined, pursued, and done, because I think it will create a different future for everyone.
Have you heard his voice? It's weird. It's like some cartoon character. You know, I cannot bear this man. I absolutely cannot bear him. I think he's nasty, vicious. You know, there's 47,000 people were killed during this war.
The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave, they can then come back, they can relocate and come back, but you have to rebuild Gaza if you want.
So yes, Benjamin. So tomorrow, I think we should all go to Benjamin's house tomorrow. Benjamin Netanyahu, or whatever his stupid gremlin name is. Go to his house and say, oh, sorry, you got to leave your home. You got to leave your home. And if you don't go voluntarily, the American troops are going to come and get you. And we're going to take you to another country, Jordan or Egypt or anyone who'll have you. And then, we're going to do something with your house. And then we'll let you go back when it's finished. But we don't know how long that could be. It could be 20 years. But for now, come on, you're coming with us. You're leaving your home. Absolutely. But he thinks it's a great idea. He thinks it's a great idea because he doesn't have to leave his home, does he?
The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave. They can then come back. They can relocate and come back. But you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you can't have. This is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea. And I think it should be really pursued, examined, pursued, and done, because I think it will create a different future for everyone.
Yeah, it'll create a different future for everyone. But not you, Benjamin, because you don't have to leave your home, do you? You don't have to leave your home forcibly. Idiot. That's Kelly, that's the leader of Israel. That's the leader of Israel. That's Benjamin Netanyahu. And he's a war criminal in my eyes. He's a war criminal. He's a horrible, horrible man. Yep. Who knows? You look with if you've got a spare bedroom in your house, you'll have to take in a Gaza. What are you doing? Are you going off?
Go to the shops and get some coke and like that.
Okay. Well, it won't be open. Oh, where are you going?
The Chinese shop.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's it. So that's the madness that is Donald Trump. We'll see what happens. But it's certainly never boring when Donald Trump's around, is it? Anyway, well, I don't think it will come to any. I think he said that. I don't think it will come to anything because the world's going mad, aren't they? All the, people, he can't do that. He can't displace all those people. You just can't do it. David, you need to all make sure that you haven't got a spare room, because the next thing you know, Elon Musk and Donald Trump will be taking over Britain and making you all have a Gazan in your spare bedroom while they make a Riviera, while they make a Gaza Strip, turn it into more like the Las Vegas Strip with casinos and make it into a Gazan Riviera. Oh, God. The world's gone crazy. It really has gone crazy. Just so, you just can't. Anyway, okay. Thank you for being